Okay, this is the concept development for Module 5, Lesson 3, and we are picking up after our application problem. So if you haven't done the fluency or application problem, you need to go back and do those now. But if you have done those, let's continue on. So first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to look at what fraction is represented by the shaded part in the tape diagram from the application problem. So if we go back for just a second, what fraction was shown here? So that is our question, and we answered that in the application problem, and hopefully you came up with 3 out of 4. So now it wants us to say 3/4 decomposed as the sum of unit fractions. So if we break this up into the sum of unit fractions, first thing we need to know is what is the unit fraction for this? Well, it's always going to be how much is each individual block worth, and that was 1 out of 4. So that's our unit fraction. So if we add these up, we had 1/4. How many fourths do we need to add up to get to 3/4? So hopefully you just said 3. So let's go ahead and write those out. So we have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. So say that out loud. 3/4 equals 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Alright. How many fourths are in 3/4? Well, there are 3/4 in 1/4. So I'm going to go ahead and actually write that down for you. So there are 3/4 in 1/4. So how can we write a multiplication equation that shows that there are 3/4 in 3/4? So it's basically saying, if you look at the repeated addition we did in the fluency, if we had 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, then when we wrote our multiplication equation, it was 4 times 1 equals 4, right? So if we have 3/4, we want to know what do we multiply together to show that there are 3/4. So if we have 1/4, what can we put there in that blank that will answer the multiplication problem? So hopefully you said 3, because we know that there are 3/4. So we can write this as a repeated addition as 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, or you can write this as a multiplication equation and say that there are 3 1/4. So we're going to multiply 3 times 1/4, and that will give us 3/4. So it's nice and easy. It's basically the exact same thing, except for it's in fraction form. Alright, now let's try writing a multiplication sentence to show how many 8ths would be in 7/8. So I'm going to go ahead and write 7/8, and how many 8ths are going to, how many 8ths are in 7/8? So how can we write this as a multiplication sentence? So go ahead and take a second, and I want you to answer that. Alright, so hopefully you would recognize that if you had 7/8, that's like adding 1/8 7 times. So if we wrote our multiplication sentence, it would be 7 times 1/8, and that'll give us 7/8. Nice and easy. Alright, so now we want to know what fractional unit does the tape diagram show? Well, first of all, we need to know how many parts are there, how many boxes are there. So if this is all equaling up to 1, so 1 whole, how many different boxes do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so how many is it showing that it's selected? So let's count this out. So, well, first of all, we know that there are 10 total parts. So now we need to figure out how many is it selecting. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it is showing us 8/10. Alright? Now let's show that as a sum of unit fractions. So that's going to be 8/10. That's going to be 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 that should be 8 since 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, okay. So that's showing it as a sum of unit fractions. Now, how can we show this using multiplication? So let's rewrite this as a multiplication equation. So we have 8/10, and that's equal to 1/10 times how many? Well, we know it's going to be 8 because we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times 1/10 is going to be equaling 8/10. That's about it. That's pretty much the lesson, and it's super duper easy. Alright, so now we are going to figure out how we can show. Now, sorry, let me back up for just a second. We just were looking at a tape diagram and we interpreted it and we said, okay, what is this tape diagram showing? Now we're going to do the opposite. We have the equation. We need to create the tape diagram in order to show it. So it says, how can we show 5 times 1/3 on a tape diagram? So let's draw our tape diagram. There's going to actually need to be a little extra here. So this is broken up into thirds here. I'm going to split this in thirds. Well, actually, I'm going to draw this a little differently. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to break this into thirds. I'm going to break this one into 2. So that gives us 5 totals. So this part right here is equal to 1 whole. And we've got 1/3 here, 1/3 here, 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and 1/3 here. So if we add them up all together, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thirds. Or you can look at it another way as 5 times 1/3 equals 5 thirds. Nice and easy. Alright, we're going to do one more practice problem. So it says, how can we show 7 times 1/4? So it says, draw your tape diagram. I'm going to draw this down here. Alright, I'm going to make this my hole here. So this is 1 hole. Let's put this into 4s. And then we have 3 more. Okay. So now we have our equation is 7 times 1/4, and that should give us 7/4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7/4. Alright. And I believe that's it. Yep. Alright. So when you go onto your problem set, you're going to be doing the exact same thing. You're going to be decomposing each fraction modeled by the tape diagram as a sum of unit fractions. Then it's going to want you to write the equivalent multiplication sentence. So once you get your addition sentence, you need to convert it to your multiplication sentence. And the first one's been done for you, so you can go and look at that as an example, or go back through the problems and check those out. All right. Good luck.